They all pipe up with, John, I get it, people buy people. And I go, yeah, but you need to go further. People buy people they like. And it's those final words that, you can try and sell me. You may have a great product, you probably do. But if I don't have a gut feel, if I don't connect with you, I'm not going to buy from you. My advice now to people who are setting up on their own or starting out on that journey is outsource as quickly as you can and surround yourself with really good people, preferably who are experts, because you don't have to be an expert in everything, you won't be. If you're going to take the finance director out for some entertainment, is he a golf boy? Is he rugby? You should know this, by the way. And if you don't, I suggest you start finding out. So every time you have a conversation or spend time with them, listen very carefully, aim to learn something you didn't know before, and update your records. Whatever it is you decide to do, it helps enormously if it's a passion. If you can find a way to create a living from doing something you're very passionate about, it will never feel like work.
What you just heard gives you a taste of John Harvey's unconventional approach to business, where being nice isn't just good manners, it's competitive strategy. In this episode, we explore how he built a thriving membership business by rejecting everything we're told about modern growth. No spreadsheets, no automation, no CRM systems, just deep, authentic relationships that generate more referrals than any funnel ever could. This is Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm Nikhil. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm your host, Nikhil, founder and CEO of Boost Solo. My next guest accidentally fell into sales, nearly walked away from his business in year one, and somehow ended up founding the most exclusive club in Southwest England, where the number one rule is just be nice. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I'm excited.
Good to be here.
Well, I'm glad you are here, and I'm excited because you have a wonderful story and background. So I like to dive right in. Now, you mentioned to me that you fell into sales by mistake while planning to get a proper job, right? So
Yeah.
Take me back to that moment. Walk me through what was going through your head when you realized this temporary sales gig was actually becoming your career.
Okay, so I came out of college with a degree in business studies, and I didn't have anything lined up. And I saw this little weird ad in a paper in London, and I went for an interview. And it turned out I was selling life insurance in the 80s, commission only, no regulation, the Wild West. And it was young. I was young, and it was fun. And that's how I ended up doing that for like 3 years. But I've always been a people person, so it taught me a lot.
Right. And then I'm going to fast forward a little bit to when you launched the Sampire Club.
Okay.
You can maybe fill in some of the dots there as we go. But
Sure.
The other thing you told me was you organized this. So friends of yours sort of pushed you into launching this and monetizing it. And you've always been a people person. But you told me you organized this great launch party. And then you woke up the next day thinking, what happens now? So could you talk a little bit about what your first week as a business owner actually looked like?
Sure. I organized a great launch party, and that consumed a lot of time and attention. I like a party, and we had a website and we had cards and everything like that. But it's not like we had a calendar of events organized. And I remember waking up the following morning feeling this huge sense of anticlimax, thinking, what in God's name happens now? I had no idea. And feeling very, not flat, just thinking, I'm how underprepared am I? It was actually quite sobering.
But you have figured it out, right? So tell me if your Wild West days of sales in 1980s London, did that somehow you feel like prepare you for the uncertainty of what you were facing in that moment?
Yes, if you can sell and if you can sell commission only, that will make you very resilient. And ironically, now these days, I tell everybody, including companies, if you have salespeople and you are trying to sell your product or service, I would stop and I would ask yourself the following question: why do people buy, and why would they buy from you or your company? Because people hate being sold to.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm just, as a relatively new business owner, I realized that the most important muscle is sales. But sales, the art of sales is not really selling; it's solving problems, right? And really listening to people, and that's something, And I have a newfound respect for people who do sales.
It's so true. And it comes back to that basic tenet of mine is how can you help? Be nice. Um, and all the salespeople, and I always know when, people who've been on sales courses who are salespeople, because they all pipe up with, John, I get it. People buy people. And I go, yeah, but you need to go further. People buy people they like. And it's those final words that, I mean, you can try and sell me. You may have a great product. You probably do. But if I don't have a gut feel, if I don't connect with you, I'm not going to buy from you. It's just, it's a very simplistic view of business. And I'm told this often. I go, but business is people. It's very, very simple.
Yeah, no, and I love that about your business, and we'll dig into that a little more in terms of how you're sort of going against the tide, if you like, with automation in terms of, But we'll get to that. Go ahead.
Can I just name checks a guy over your side, an American guy called Tim Sanders, who wrote a couple of books, The Likability Factor and Love is the Killer App. He was huge influence because that whole piece of likability, it's huge. Very interesting guy.
Yeah, I will. Will definitely a good resource. Thank you. We'll add that to the notes. So now, again, I want to touch back on the Sampire Club because a lot of people sort of struggle when they're starting their business, right? And I think one of the most difficult things is monetizing a skill that you have because clearly you inherently had this skill. Your friends saw it; they got value from
Mm.
it. So tell me a little bit about when people said just monetize what you do. What was the exact thing you couldn't figure out how to put a price tag on?
Oh, here was my main issue was I have this ability to recognize opportunity and connect people,
Yeah.
but I never take an introducer's fee or a referral fee, and I never take a cut. So whatever they get up to together, and in a lot of cases, it can be, I have members who have said to me, John, I pay you a membership of X. I've, got 5 times that in my first year. Okay, that makes me happy, but I don't take a cut. That makes it transactional. It's not wrong. It's just not me. And Samphire would be a very different beast if that's how I operated.
Right. Yeah, well, and clearly your success is a testament to that formula. Um, so the other thing you mentioned to me was almost quitting this Empire Club in year one, right?
Oh
Was,
yeah.
was there a moment in year one when you thought, I can't do this anymore? And what pulled you back and kept you going?
Okay, that's a good question. And it was about 6 months in. We were having a big summer party on a beautiful beach in Cornwall. And it was like we had big Bedouin tents. And we had about, I don't know, 200 people there. I was sitting at the back of one of the tents, deep in conversation with someone. And the two ladies who helped me organise the events back in the early days came to find me and said, John, we need you to come and say a few words. And I went, I can't. And they went, no, now's not the time to joke with us. We need you, come. I don't have a problem getting up, standing in front of people. And I said, I can't. I'm actually having a panic attack.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And I was absolutely burnt out. And I had to take some time off. What got me through it was a business coach who I'd known for a long time. Sort of said, John, meet me for a coffee. I need to talk to you. And he said, you're in a mess, aren't you? And I went, yep. He took me under his wing, and it was just, that was my first introduction to having a mentor or coach, to have another pair of eyes, someone to offload to without any judgment.
Yeah.
It was very helpful, and we he helped me survive. Well, get over year one. But he said to me, "How do you feel? You've done year one. That's a lot of people don't make it." And I went, "I hate it. I could walk away right now. I'd love to actually. It's not fun, So, but people started renewing, so I had to buckle up and take it seriously.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I mean, that's just something a lot of solopreneurs overlooks. Being solo doesn't mean not having people around you that you can talk to and that you can trust and who can guide you, right? I
Uh,
always go ahead. Yeah.
no, yeah, I agree. I always say to people, my advice now to people who are setting up on their own or starting out on that journey is outsource as quickly as you can and surround yourself with really good people, preferably who are experts, because you don't have to be an expert in everything. You won't be. So in my case now, I've got someone who does all my content and has done for the whole journey, a very good VA who takes care of everything from the invoicing. I've got a very good coach, another one at the moment. And what else have we got? Oh, we've got someone who does all my socials, the Soundfire Club socials. They're all freelance. They don't work for me.
Yeah.
I'm a client of theirs, but and the members themselves, they make it happen, you know. But
Yeah.
we're going to be 10 next year. That doesn't happen overnight.
No, no, and that's impressive. I mean, year one and year five, I believe the stats show us among the hardest. But
Oh, yeah. And also, let's talk about imposter syndrome because
yeah,
people go, John, do you suffer from that? I went, yeah, years 1 through to 8, I still get struck with it. If I go into a room full of people who, in my head, are very successful at what they do, I feel like a 10-year-old. It's like, mm, mm.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that because I think that's one of the myths out there that you get over imposter syndrome. And in my experience, every time you try something new, you do something different, you will have it, you will experience it all over again, right? And I don't think it's a bad thing now. I've realized as long as you don't give into it, it actually keeps you honest and keeps you focused, right? So,
I agree. And also, as long as you have to accept it. And as long as but with experience, you then gain the knowledge that a lot of other people have it all the time. People who you look up to. I know people who are very successful business people, but they're honest with me. Like, John, my idea of hell is to walk into a room full of people and do what you do. I hate that. And I go, well, yeah, if I go into a room full of people that I don't know, I have that same doubt. And I have to remind myself that allegedly I'm an expert on this. I know how to do it.
yeah.
But you do, it's normal.
Yeah, I think it's part of being human, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're a sociopath, always say, because then you maybe you don't feel it. But other than that, I think the rest of us do,
Yeah.
even if we don't
We
admit.
try not to have those in the club.
Yeah, yeah, just be nice, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, the other interesting thing you said to me was that you called it your midlife crisis decision, right?
Yeah.
So when did you stop? When did it stop being about proving people wrong, and when did you actually, when did it become something you really cared deeply about? Was there a turning?
Um, I think the fact that I got through year one, I mean, I was in a state, but the fact that I got through year one was it was a quiet satisfaction, but it was the realization of this is just the beginning. The real, you never think you've made it, but I think probably 2 years ago when we had a major overhaul of the structure of the club, and I finally got finally got the team, the right people. Suddenly, I don't. It does get easier over time. It does. I think there's a tipping point where it's suddenly. So in terms of, I hate the word sales, but whatever. Let's say inquiries. It suddenly becomes inbound. I know I've never gone out looking for members, but suddenly now we have a steady stream of inquiries and members constantly on their travels going, John, I've met someone, I think they'd be really good. Can I bring them to an event? I went, yes, bring them. So, and it builds profile. It builds, you know.
Yeah, and honestly, that is the greatest kind of sales is when your membership and it's through word of mouth, right? That means they're getting enough
Oh,
value to bring over
always.
people. Yeah. That's the envy of every company and brand, is for their customers to bring in new customers.
Oh,
So
absolutely. And people, and companies also, John, we don't get enough referrals. That's the dream. And I go, well, you probably don't spend enough time with your customers because you're obsessed with client wins and new business. Um, and you don't know your customers. You think you do, but you don't.
yeah,
Spend more time with your customers. It's more fun and it's much easier. I don't know. There's a saying, isn't there? It's like 5 times more expensive to get a new client than or something like that, and it's true.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's 5 times more expensive maybe to get a new client, but it's also 10 times more expensive to get a new employee. And corporations also don't realize that. So, you know,
Absolutely. That's the other thing. I get tapped up is not a word I like, but I get approached all the time by companies who I work with going, John, we have a vacancy. If they can come through me and not a recruitment agency, it saves them a fortune.
yeah, true. And also, there's a litmus test, right? If they're coming through you, they know there's a
Yeah,
certain level of trust, and they're nice people. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So now I want to talk about brand a little bit. But you said something interesting in terms of the way you've built this. You haven't gone out looking for referrals. But if someone looked at the Samphire Club from the outside, they might think, okay, it's just another networking group, right? So what's the
Mm.
big misconception people have about what you've built?
Very interesting because until we only started doing socials this year. So
Wow.
finally, we have a Samphire LinkedIn. Oh, we've always had it; it's just not been active. But
Right.
we have a Samphire LinkedIn page and a Samphire Club Instagram account that Hannah does. I'm not allowed to post from them. I just provide content, but that has driven a lot of inquiries. But equally, from people I've known a long time have contacted me because they've seen we put video testimonials out from clients, yeah, and they
Right.
go, John, I recognise all these people. I always thought Samphire was cliquey, not for me, out of my reach, because there's no sign up, and it's always been known as, oh, it's by invite. Um, and that was, I was kind of aware, but not aware. And that was revelatory. It's like, no, look, we're really friendly, you know. So,
Yeah.
but it has always been, you never know how many people are aware of your business or whatever, you never know what people are saying about you. That business of a personal brand, it's what they say about you when you're not in the room. Um, you know,
Yeah, absolutely. And and one of the realizations I have is people are constantly chasing vanity metrics, right? The number of likes and reposts
yeah,
and everything. And rarely are those people going to be people you know or your clients, right? And I found so many people I know who will stop me when I meet them and say, I love your posts. And yet they have never liked anything. They have never commented on anything. But and it's to your point, there are silent observers who are probably
yes.
more deeply involved, but don't necessarily need to,
Well,
show
I
it
call the
outwardly to the world. Yeah.
well, I call the LinkedIn stalkers. They
Yeah.
just sit in the background and watch.
Right. But they're also powerful because they deeply appreciate what you're doing, and they're the ones who will recommend you to other people, is what I've found, right? Which is a
It's so
strange thing.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And interestingly, we put out a newsletter, an email newsletter once a fortnight. And when people say, John, how have you built it? I go, from a newsletter, from a mailing list. We've
Right.
never advertised ever. It's a mailing list. You find your tribe and you build it consistently over time. Or from a networking point of view, you show up regularly.
Yeah. And like you said, you get to know your customers, right? And that's
Oh,
really important. Not on a
oh, a
superficial
question.
level. Yeah.
Here's a question I like to ask business owners. Yeah. Take one of your big clients. I don't need to know who it is. It sounds like a magic trick. Tell me now who they bank with, who their lawyer is, who their accountancy. That should be easy for you. Now we're getting into the more nuanced bit. Name the board of directors, all of them. Tell me if they're married. What are their kids called? If you're going to take the finance director out for some entertainment, is he a golf boy? Is he rugby? You should know this, by the way. And if you don't, I suggest you start finding out. So every time you have a conversation or spend time with them, listen very carefully, aim to learn something you didn't know before, and update your records.
Yeah, that's very interesting you say that, because I feel like people spend so much time on the date when they're chasing clients, and then once the
Oh,
marriage happens, it's like, yeah, see you, once a month.
always. Yeah, it's a very easy thing to fall into.
Yeah, true. So I want to touch back on the brand, right? So a lot of solopreneurs are terrified of becoming the brand because
Yeah.
what happens if they get sick or they want to take a break? And you've built a business that literally cannot exist without John Harvey, right? So does that keep you up at night, or do you see that as a strength of your model?
It's not a cop out. It's both.
Yeah,
Because it can't be copied easily because it's me.
yeah,
However, that means, and from the very beginning, I was aware and I was asked the question, John, what do you want? What's the plan? And I went, well, you can't franchise it because it's me. Because it's just me, that means you can't scale it and exit. So that leaves lifestyle. It's a lifestyle business. Um, but I'm of an age now, and it's like, well, what happens after, if anything happens to me, what happens?
yeah,
And in my naivety, in the past, I went, well, when I go, it goes with me. It's like a shooting star, and everyone will be left going, God, I miss that. That was so cool. Whereas now it has value, not for me, but for the members. And it does come up in conversation. They go, John, you have to ensure that this continues after. So it's not exit, but it's legacy
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And there's something you said there, which is, I think a lot of people don't realize, is that one of your most important strength as a solopreneur is you and your story, right? Because
Yeah,
nobody can copy that.
no.
Nobody can replicate that. Nobody can duplicate that. Nobody can, become who you are. And I think that's the thing people don't realize when they sort of try to create a company or a brand that is not, them. So
Mm.
I love
But
that
it's
you,
it's interesting that we are, Samfire is a network. It's a membership organization.
yeah,
It's a community.
right.
Um, I see new ones setting up in the Southwest all the time, and there are some that are very clearly they are taking ideas from me, from other leading individuals. Um, And what's your, some people get very irritated by it. I used to, and I now go, it's flattery. It means what you're doing is, it's looked up to. They can't be you, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's the TED and TEDx model, right? So they were one of the first to embrace the fact that, like you said, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So I
It's
think that
true.
is a testament to the brand that you've built
Mm.
and the community that you've built. Now,
And interesting,
yeah,
sorry, I'm
go ahead.
interrupting, it's very weird. But interestingly, again, something for business owners is the intellectual property is that's the value of your business and you need to protect it. So we have the Samphire logo, the little S, that is protected. That's, trademarked.
Okay. And in terms of becoming the brand, I want to dig into that a little more. What's the difference, would you say, between John Harvey, who worked for other people, and John Harvey,
Mm.
who now is the business and runs the business?
Oh God, before I was devoid of responsibility. I was paid. I had paid holiday. I could go sick. Um, my and equally, I've always had an anti-authority streak. So my loyalty was always to my client base, the
Yeah.
clients. I was a classic sales BD guy, and I used to say to my line manager, "Your job is really simple. Create the environment to let people like me do our jobs, because never forget we bring in the income that pays for everybody, including you. So in other words, shut up." I mean,
Yeah.
horrible. I was young.
We've all been there, John.
Yeah. Whereas now it's, I don't have employees, but that inner team, they're all on retainers with me. Um, and I do feel responsible for the members, and at any given time, especially now over here, our side of the pond, we have a cost of living crisis. Freelance marketeers, your line of work, they're having a really hard time. So, um, fortunately, our members, our community are naturally supportive of each other. But I have members going, John, I can't really afford to pay the subscription anymore. And if they're paying monthly, I go, fine, we'll put you on hold until you can. We're not going to expel you. I always go, your family, we look after our own.
Yeah, no, I love that, because that it's not about like you said, nothing that you describe sounds transactional, right? Even
It's
though,
not, yeah.
yeah. So,
I mean, they do have to pay because we
of
have to
course,
pay for everything.
absolutely, and that's
And I
nothing
like to
wrong with.
remind them of that. I said, you have to pay your subscriptions because I have a lifestyle to maintain.
Yeah, but clearly you're providing the value, right? And you put the people first. I think that's what people
Yeah,
understand, right? And I don't think any business can go wrong when they do that, versus the other way around. So
it's people.
yeah, it is people. So the other interesting thing you told me is you don't use spreadsheets, you don't track conversion rates or measure, traditional KPIs. So how do you gauge if your business is really working without those traditional metrics?
Okay, it is true that I don't look at spreadsheets. I'm allergic to Excel. However, so every morning, the first thing I do is I check the bank. So
Yeah.
I know what is in the bank. I know how much we owe, how much we're owed. And if it stopped right now, I know how many weeks we could survive. So it's what I refer to as the magic numbers. I'm not a numbers guy at all, but any business owner, you need to know those. In terms of metrics, I get a weekly report from my VA, which will have the P&L, it'll have the weekly breakdown. So we know, and it's got it's got the debtors list, so we can see who hasn't paid or what money's due and which ones we need to chase quietly. I never used to look at that report, to be fair. It's only in the last 2 years that I've started looking at it, and I now file it. And then people go, John, you've changed. I go, yeah, I'm a mogul now, baby. I have to know this shit. But in terms of with us, it's how many new members we know how many new members come in each month. We also know, because at the beginning of every month, year on year, at the beginning of every month, we will have a tranche of members that are due to renew. So what is our retention?
Right.
Pretty good. I mean, our retention would be 95%. We're going to lose the odd one for whatever reason. My view is, if we lose them because they want to, try something else, if we lose them and they say, I don't like you, I don't like the Samphire Club, I don't like what you've communicated, then yes, you take it personally because you care. But always don't burn bridges. Just go, the door's always open. You will always be part of our family because you have been a member. We appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and actually, so you do look at the metrics that matter now, right? Clearly, because
I do
you
look at the
ignore the
metrics
ones
that
that
matter.
don't. Yeah, I think
Just not on spreadsheets.
yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I have an allergy to spreadsheets too, so I can completely relate to what you just said.
The other thing that people know in my world all the techies know, that I don't have a PC and I don't have a laptop. I literally have a phone and I have a pad that I'm using for this. That's it.
I love that. So let me build on that. But so we live in a world now where everyone is obsessed with scaling and automation and CRM and AI, right? And
Platforms.
platforms, yeah. But you've doubled down on being more personal, being more human, being more hands-on. So would you say you're swimming against the tide, or you're ahead of it? And what makes you confident in that bet?
I don't know, but I'm just authentic. That's me. I don't like tech.
Yeah.
For instance, I still have a paper diary. And people go, John, do you not use calendar? And I go, no, not really. I mean, I will. If like you send me a calendar invite, I will add it.
Yeah.
But I don't have. Or if people want to make a point, so members all have the opportunity to book a one-to-one with me. That's where the value is. They can sit and have an hour of my time, and I need help with the following, normally instructions, but I don't have Calendly, so they can't go on and book. I said, just phone me or email me and we'll find a time.
Yeah. I love that, because that also it forces you to sort of, I feel like it slows the brain down in a good way, right? Because right now I think technology just makes us very reactive in a very thoughtless way, right? because everything is much more about efficiency. And I don't believe efficiency is the answer to all our problems, right? More and more and more efficiency, I mean. So,
I think there's ways of being efficient with your time.
yes.
So, live example, we spoke on Monday. Tuesday, I attended an event in down in Torquay, and I put out on LinkedIn. I put out a post every morning on LinkedIn saying who I'm seeing, where I'm going to be, and I just went. I'm attending this event. I will be at the Mercure Hotel in Paignton, which is my home when I'm down there all day. I'll be on my sofa. I haven't got any appointments, but if anyone wants to catch up with me, and it turned out that during the day we had a stream of people just popping in, going, "John, have you got time?" I said, "Yes, I'm here. Fine, sit. What?" And much more spontaneous, much more serendipitous, because people would overlap, and I go, "You guys know each other, right?" And they go vaguely, and I said, "Well, you're here now. Join us."
Yeah, no, I love. Yeah, go ahead.
No, no. But equally, it's a better use of my time because I'm not having to travel then. I'm just there.
Yeah, and there is one thing I miss about the pre-cell phone, pre-digital, automation days is once you made an appointment, you had to stick to it because
Yeah.
you couldn't just change your mind 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before, next day, the day after. So I feel like we've sort of gone back a little bit in terms of, like you said, efficiency, efficient use of time. So, but
I do see it with, especially with people when they start networking or they are, or they're networking a lot. They can be very busy, and I always say to people, networking or to build a network, it can, you need to really think how much of your time and budget are you going to invest in this. And a question I will always ask people, companies as well, is do you have a networking plan that is written down and reviewed and measured? And they go, never heard of it. And I go, well, it's like a business plan. I can help you put that together, but because if there's no strategy, the networking can, it can wear it can be it can be very draining, and it actually can be a waste of time and money.
you're absolutely right. Yeah. And I want to come back and touch on that, but I want to ask you
Okay.
before that about your book. So you mentioned your book has sort of become your business card. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how you leverage that for speaking gigs and building
Yeah.
credibility? Yeah.
Yes. So, and again, happened by accident. I was having coffee with someone in my network. Oh, this is going back years, probably in year two. Really nice guy he was a good speaker.
Yeah.
And we were catching up, and he went, "John, you should speak. You'd be a great speaker." And I went, "I've always harbored thoughts that I'd like to do that. How do you do that?" And he went, "You write a book. You need a business book. That's how you get." I went, "Okay." He said, "John, you don't make money from business books, but it opens doors." He said, "It's an investment. That's the way you look at it. It's not a cost." He said, "I happen to know these people in Bristol who know there is a business publisher in Bristol. They know her very well, so I'll make the introduction." And that's how I ended up in front of my publisher, who went, "I think you could write a book. What would it be on?" And originally I said to her, "We don't need another book on networking. I've read all of them." But so we put it on hold, but I committed to, I think it was like £5,000. There's obviously a payment plan. So I paid for it and I hadn't done it. And then it was the year of lockdown, beginning of the year, before lockdown, I suddenly I called her, "Mate, we have to have lunch because I've got an idea now." And she went, "John, what's it going to be?" And I went, "It's going to be about networking. But it's going to be how networking has changed my life. Hugely. My life before networking, my life after." And she went, "John, hallelujah. That's your story. That is authentic. So get me the chapters, get me the outline." And so I did. And then we went into lockdown, and she called me and said, "John, you're not going anywhere. I want it by the end of the summer."
Wow. Yeah.
That's where it came from. So I do have a book. I should have a copy with me so I could have held it up. I don't. Forgive me. That's my fault. But yeah, but it's true. But that still remains true. I say to people, you do not make money from book sales. I mean, you don't. I give it away a lot of the time. I mean, you can buy it off our website. Something I did recently last year, but it does lead to speaking things. Not it's you. It's like everything else. You build it up. So people go, John, you get a lot of invites to speak, or you've been invited to go and do network training for big companies. I go, yeah, but it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
Here's an example of how my mind works. I got asked to do a workshop for a law firm. And the partner that asked me, I've known for ages, but they're not. She said, John, we're not members. What's your fee to do it for half a day or a morning? And I went, okay, let's think about it, because I don't have a set fee. I said, do you have a charity of the year? And she went, yes, we do. It's hospice care. And I went, okay, they're a charity member of Sapphire. We know them. I
Yeah.
said, why don't you take my fee, give it to them, because that would look good for both of us and it's doing a good thing. I said, and rather than pay me a fee, I will sell you copies of my book for your juniors, which you can take out of your marketing budget, and then everybody's winning, which is what we ended up doing.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. No, and I think it's really interesting because you're like the 10th person who's told me about writing a book, right? And how it sort of opens doors. And everyone will admit that the book doesn't make money, but it
Now,
helps you build your business because clearly you have something to say of value, right? And I think that's what people
also,
recognize.
yes, and if you want to position yourself as an expert in your field, so in my case, networking,
Yeah,
it validates that,
absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about now what you were talking about earlier in terms of the system. So you mentioned that your value is in making introductions and opening doors, right? Can you talk about your process a little bit? How do you mentally scroll through 300 plus members to find the right connections? Can you walk us through the process?
Um, yeah, there isn't. I don't have a process or a system. I
Okay.
have an extraordinary memory for, could I name all 300 members off the top of my head? No, but I have them split into geography
Right.
and I have them split into sector. So, for example, someone would go, John, I need a lawyer for, let's say, I need a family lawyer. And I go, okay, I will introduce you to 5. They're all incredibly good at what they do. And because I'm making the introduction, they will all see you. You will feel more comfortable with one than the other. That's the bit I can't help you with. But and all the law firms I work with, they know I'm not exclusive to any of them. I will introduce people to you, but equally it's up to you then. If they don't connect with you, don't take it personally. Um, but you just get a feel for it. You get a feel for it. Or I will be talking to someone and they haven't even asked me, but they're talking about an issue they're having, and I'm going, inside it's whirring, and I go, hang on a sec, run that by me again. What's the problem? They go, I'm like, okay, I need to introduce you to so and so. It's a light bulb, and I go, I'll do the email now, or better still, I'll see if I can get them on the phone. We'll do it that way. Yeah, but because I don't take an introducer's fee, everybody knows. So the people I'm introducing them to know I'm not getting anything from it, and they also know I don't waste their time. So if it's an introduction from me, it will have potential value. So it's you have to be careful how you use it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think there's a level of authenticity in what you just described too, right? Because you're not looking for any sort of transaction here.
No,
You're genuinely seeing a problem and suggesting a potential solution in terms of
yeah,
marrying
I
those two.
don't take a fee. If you want to say thank you to me, a video testimonial would be fantastic.
Yeah,
It's helpful, but you don't have to. It's enough that it's enough for me that I know.
yeah,
But sometimes
absolutely.
people will say to me, John, so that happened over there. Did you have a hand in that? I go, can't say.
The magic happens. Can't say
Exactly. I always
how
say
it
that.
happens.
I just wander the Southwest weaving magic. Yeah.
But I mean, clearly, I mean, you've taken time to get to know these people, right? On a level
Yeah.
that, is beyond, much beyond sort of CRM superficiality. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, when you talk about, their interests, their kids, I mean, clearly it's like that is, I think, where the magic happens, right? Because when you have,
Yes, and if somebody, my members know that if they've got let's say it's an important potential business, meeting, they, if they're smart, and a lot of them are smart, well, go, John, I've got a meeting with so and so. Do you know them? And I go, I do. I said, what's, and they say, well, it's a proposal or it's an interview. I go, okay. Um, I'll give you a very just, I will send you some notes. I'm not going to send you my notes, but I will tell you, just give you some hints. So, for instance, be aware they really like rugby. Try and steer the subject onto rugby, or be aware they're having, they've got personal issues at the moment. They've got health scare. Just bear in mind. Don't tell them but it's just giving them a little bit of background.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think so that leads me to another question, which is you've created what in marketing terms is called scarcity, right? Which a lot
Yeah.
of people want, because you can't just walk in and say, okay, I'm signing up on some digital form. So what was the psychology behind that? And can you talk a little bit about how you think other solopreneurs might be able to create that type of dynamic?
Yes, the scarcity. So when I was asked one of the ideas for the club came from, I was asked, where is the best networking in Cornwall?
Yeah,
And I went, okay, there's all the stuff that you can see, so Chamber of Commerce, etc. I said, but for me, it will be private, by invitation, off diary. And I went, what does that mean? I went, well, if you're not in the room, you'll never know it happened. And
right.
they went, oh, okay. And then they thought about it and they went, okay, so if you were going to set that up, how would you do it? And I went, the most obvious example I could think of is Soho House, which started in London. You have it in New York now. I said it was invite only from the very beginning. Now there is a huge waiting list.
Yeah,
So it's something that people know what it is. They hear about it all the time. And I aspire, I would like to be part of that gang. How do you get in? You can't, you
yeah,
know. And with us, and when I tell people that's how Samphire works, because people will find me and they'll go, John, I follow you, I've watched you, I've been on your website. How do you join? There's no sign up. And I go, well, you can't. You would have to start with me. And they go, oh, vetting. And I go, well, that's a charged word. But essentially, I said there is the All Black rugby team from New Zealand. We have the Red Arrows over here, our partners. They both operate what they call a no dickhead scheme. We're exactly the same. We don't want dickheads. And so it's really easy. Buy into our culture, just be nice. And if you have something of value to offer our membership and all of their, all our members have huge networks. So, it's like, John, I can get, I'm exposed to all the members. I go, think how many people they know that aren't, it's like 6 degrees. If you put a request into our WhatsApp group between us, we should be able to get you in front of pretty much anyone. Might take a little bit of work,
yeah.
but we probably can.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting you mentioned the Soho House because once they went public and tried to scale, that's where they went wrong. And they've gone back to be private again now to sort of
Yeah.
fix what was broken, right? So,
And as soon as you get private equity involved with hospitality,
yeah,
oh, it kills the magic.
true.
You cannot run magical hospitality venues from a spreadsheet. As soon as the
No,
bean counters take over, it's a kiss of death.
yeah. And I hate that word hyper growth, which was like
Oh,
trending the last few years. So,
exactly. We're going to scale and exit and get our money back, and
I know.
I'm going to
Um,
roll it out. There's another one.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you have basically a subscription model, right? Now
Yeah.
everybody is trying to build a subscription model today, you know, from car companies to toilet paper. How do you maintain the personal invitation only feel while running what really is a subscription business?
Um, Good question. Um, well, I say to them, that we don't have a joining fee like a lot of clubs do. I said, but to be involved in our world, that's the model, financial model. It's subscription, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but you're right, subscription. And I see a lot of people trying to do what I've created, and we'll start it and we'll do, and it's how much do you offer for the, how do you provide the value? And I say to all of mine, at the end of the year, because I've shown you how to have a networking plan, you need to review all your networking activities. So the other stuff you go to, the other things you're members of, and be brutal and go, is it providing value? I hate that it's got to have ROI because it's much more nuanced than that. But is it providing you value? And be prepared to let things go. And that includes me. If you don't think you've had value from your membership, try something else. I'm not going to hold it against you, but you should be brutal and go, I haven't really got much from this. The idea, we try to make it accountable. So when somebody joins, they have a one-to-one with me to start, and we end up with a plan for them as to what do you want to get from being a member for a year? How do we measure that? And how often do you think we need to do this? Get together for now. Try not to make it more than once a month because that becomes untenable. But when we review it, and then when they're coming up, when the membership is coming up for renewal, we can sit down and go, look, this is what we set out to do. We've done that, we've done that, we've done that. What's the plan for next year? Now, there's the salesman in me. It's not, are you going to rejoin? It's assumptive. What was that called? An assumptive close, I seem to remember, or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Or alternative, how would you like to pay your membership? Annually or monthly? Yeah. Some things you never forget.
That is true. And it's interesting though, because I think a lot of, and there's a lot of valuable lessons for people listening here to what John said. But I think what strikes me about what the difference in terms of the mechanics and how you work is your personal interest, your access to you. It's not like they get fobbed off to somebody else on the team to work with. And also most memberships I find today, it's like they court you, and there's, the courting process is wonderful. But once you sign up, you're just sort of thrown to the wolves. You're given like a Slack channel to go and figure things out yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a fundamental difference there.
So here's how this is how the process would work if you ended up joining us. So you would express an interest. We would either meet like this, preferably in person. We would have coffee. We would chat. I then get a gut feel. And if I think they would be a fit, I then say, next step is you come to one of our events as a guest on me. We're not charging you. And you come and you talk to some members, but more importantly, you get our vibe. I love that. I have a 23 on this. You get our vibe. And that should be enough. And you'll go, I love this, or yeah, it's not for me. And equally, the members who are there, because if most events, we have guests. And I always go, guys, we have guests amongst us. Guests, identify yourselves, put your hands up. I said, these people are guests. They've never been to one of our events. Please look after them. Please show them how we work. But equally, the members will quite often feed back to me and go, John, they're great, or not so great. All they talked about was themselves. It's very interesting.
Yeah. No, it is.
And nowadays, members bring guests. Members go, John, I found someone I think they'd be a perfect fit. I say, fine. You all know how we work. Bring them along.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, it's funny because I don't think it's anti-democratization, because some people will be like, oh, you're not opening it up to everybody. And I think it doesn't work when you do that, because inherently we're tribal beings, right? And if this is not your tribe, somewhere else will be your tribe. That's the thing that I love.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And I think I know that is part of the value, because members will recommend people, they will try and keep it in-house, as we say, but they don't have to. But if it's a recommendation from a Samphire member, by definition, it's like, well, they're in John's tribe. They've been vetted already. It sounds a bit dicky, doesn't it? But it's true.
It is true.
And we're very honest. I should say we're not for everybody. If you're looking for more of a transactional approach, then there are other groups out there. BNI would be a very good example. we're not for everybody. You have to find your tribe.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that brings me to the question I want to ask about the future, right? So where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be 3 years from now? I know you touched on,
Oh God, you sound like my coach. 3
I'll take
years
that as
from
a
now.
compliment, John.
Okay. Yes, it is. Trust me. I call my coach Yoda to his face publicly. 3 years from now, where would I like us to be? I don't have any ambitions to grow geographically because in fact, I've actually shrunk this year geographically. I've concentrated on Devon and Somerset. I still go to Bristol to see people, but I can't run. And 90% of my members are Devon and Somerset. So that's made my life. It's freed up more time to do one-to-ones. So I don't have targets in terms of how many members do we need to have by that period. It organically grows if they've got members. I now have people. It's developing in different ways. So there are Torbay. I have a woman who organises everything for us in Torbay. So she's our ambassador there. She gets her membership free, but I spent half an hour with her on Tuesday, and we've just organised all sorts of things. Says John, fine, I know all the businesses. I'll talk to them. I'll set that up. Da 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 da. I've got another lady who does that in Dartmouth. And also members come up with ideas. This is something else. If you're a business and you have a service that you're offering or whatever, don't second guess your customers.
Yeah.
If you want to know what they want, ask them. And then empower them and go, well, so people come to me, members will go, John, I've got this really good idea for an event. I think we should all go for a walk on the moor and then go to a pub for lunch. So I went, it's a brilliant idea. Go away, research it, bring me details, and we'll make it happen. And then they're invested in it. And it's great, because there are some things, if it was down to me, we'd always be going to fine dining and on boat trips, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. We did clay pigeon shooting, suggested by a member, very popular. I can take it or leave it personally, but ask.
Yeah, that's such a profound insight in our time today, right? Because I feel like we're inundated with data. Like
Yeah.
people are just like streams that everyone's trying to figure out what people want. And you'll just say, why
Oh.
don't you ask them? It's not that complicated.
Here's the other thing. If you, rather than be obsessed with new business and client acquisition, if you do hang out with your customers, you will find out things that you can help them with. They don't know everything you do. Or you can broker and they're going, da, 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 and you go, hang on, what's your pain point here? And then you become a trusted advisor and you go, John, you probably do know someone who. I said, I know exactly. I know a couple of people. I'll make the introduction, and again, that you're bringing in experts for them. I don't take a fee. I don't take a cut, but it's really fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you become indispensable. You're not just providing networking. You're almost like we had. Do you remember that website years ago, Ask Jeeves?
Yeah, I remember
It's like that.
Ask John.
Ask John. Yeah, just ask John.
Yeah, love it. So, if you could offer one piece of advice to somebody wanting to start their solo journey, what would you tell them?
All right. You have to, whatever it is you decide to do, it helps enormously if it's a passion. If you can find a way to create a living from doing something you're very passionate about, it will never feel like work. I mean, you'll be blessed. But you've also got to go in with open eyes, and it's always going to be up and down. It's not easy, because if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Sure.
So you will have to learn to get resilient. But from where I sit, my advice would be invest time in building a network. Surround yourself, try and surround yourself with really good people and outsource as much as you can, as quickly as you can, because you can't do it all.
No, you can't. And you'll just burn out if you try, right?
Well, I'm living testament to that. Yes, you will.
Yeah, great advice. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, John, that we haven't covered?
I would always seek to learn, listen to podcasts, read books, and shout about them. If you've read a really good book, reach out to the author on LinkedIn and say, big fan, loved your book. We've all got egos. We like that kind of thing. So there's a very good networking book by an American called Keith Ferrazzi called Never Eat Alone. I see he's just advertising some expensive courses on Instagram, but I've never met him. I recommend his book all the time. Again, very influential. I took a lot from that. But yeah, share whatever it is. The secret to great networking is share your knowledge and your contacts and your expertise free. Don't expect anything back. Just almost give it away. It's counterintuitive. It's like, but that's all my worth. I go, karma, it all comes back.
Yeah, no, great advice, and we'll definitely share a link to your book too, John.
Okay.
So that brings us to our rapid fire round.
Okay.
So, what's your networking superpower in one word?
Oh, good question. Networking superpower. Empathy.
Love it. The most unusual place you've ever made a business connection?
Ooh. On a train.
Okay. What's the worst networking advice you constantly hear people give?
People by people.
People by people, love that. So if the Samphire Club had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh God, what would it be? I'm a huge Stones fan. No. Actually, I don't know. But this is rapid fire. You're putting me on the spot here. But Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want.
I love that.
But if you try sometime, you might just get what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, that works well. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about people through networking?
Even the most confident people are probably bricking it inside.
Love that. Great place to end the show, John. Thank you so much. It's been such a fun conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure.
John's story flips the script on what we are told about building a successful business. While most people are chasing growth hacks, funnels, and CRM systems, he's shown us that the real edge comes from being deliberately human and making personal connection your strongest competitive advantage. The biggest takeaway here is one I've said many times. Your story and your humanity are your unfair competitive advantage. Nobody can copy those. John's club works because people know him, they trust him, and they want to be part of the culture he's built. That's brand at its most powerful. Not logos, not spreadsheets, but the reputation that speaks for you when you're not in the room. Second, notice how John is intentional about scarcity and belonging. Invite only doesn't make something elitist. It makes it meaningful. In your business, that might mean getting crystal clear on who you serve best and not being afraid to say, we're not for everyone. That kind of clarity and confidence is what builds real loyalty. Third, clarity for John isn't about marketing slogans. It's about relationships. He knows his members' kids' names, their hobbies, and even their banking relationships. While most businesses obsess over chasing new customers, John proves that when you truly understand the clients you already have, they stay longer and they become your best sales force. Finally, John reminded us that being solo doesn't mean being alone. He nearly burned out until he got a coach and built the right circle around him. For you, that might mean outsourcing sooner, finding a mentor, or simply becoming part of a peer group who really gets the journey. Here's my challenge to you. This week, pick one existing client and learn something new about them that has nothing to do with your business. Ask about their family, their challenges outside work, their interests. Because the solopreneurs who win aren't the ones with the flashiest tech. They're the ones who truly know their people. Thanks for listening to Unfiltered Solopreneur. If you're listening and realizing your brand feels scattered or you're struggling to package your experience so clients instantly get it, let's fix that. I'm offering a limited number of free 30-minute brand clarity sessions to help you spot what's missing and define your next move. Book it at clarity.boostsolo.com or through the link in the show notes. Until next time, keep breaking free from the corporate grind. Remember, your story is your most powerful asset. Live solo or die corporate.